Shai Knecht, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tzvi. Pleasure to be here.
It's really awesome having some time speaking with you. So, off the bat, maybe a bit of a personal question. Do you see yourself more of a Jewish entrepreneur or an entrepreneur that happens to be Jewish?
I mean, Jewish entrepreneur is for sure the answer. I'd have to think about why, but I think the first thing that comes to mind is that as being a Jew, there's nothing in this world that happens by accident, and you're not living a life if everything you do in life is just because you think you have a plan and you're doing things exactly the way you want it and ABC and 1, 2, 3, you're taking steps to go there. There's a much greater plan in this world. The famous saying, "Man plans and God laughs." What is there to being a person if you're not a Jewish person first, right? What is there to being an entrepreneur or a business guy if you're not Jewish first? If you don't believe that there's a higher power, if you don't believe that there's a greater plan or a greater, good out there. Um, for sure, a Jewish entrepreneur is the answer.
I hope to say that I'm the same. I like to think I'm the same. It's often challenging, of course. For someone like you, I want to get into your story in a moment. Beforehand, just like it's seeing someone like yourself who is so driven, who has a large repertoire. If anyone looks at your LinkedIn, like it's a nice list of things you've done. You're obviously very successful, and at least in my view, I think in most people's view, I'm sure maybe we're all critical of ourselves. But so like the idea of balancing that and balancing this strive to be the best Jew I can be or the most authentic Jew I can be and just being content with that seems to me as something that kind of conflicts a lot. Have you ever noticed that within yourself in at any stage in your journey where you felt that there was a conflicting drive or a conflicting pursuit? Or do you feel like it's always been pretty linear and like both drives have been parallel? The pursuit of business success and the pursuit of religious and spiritual growth.
No, for me personally, maybe once upon a time, I think probably, if anything, when I was younger, when I was living in America, it was more something I thought about and was maybe worried about, or, how am I perceived? I'm wearing a yarmulke. Who do I represent as as a Jew and as a Jewish, person of the Jewish people? But as I got older, I feel like it's really not even something I think about. The second I even feel that there's some type of uh, potential clash or potential issue with it, whether it be a client or whether it be an employee or someone that we work with, a vendor, because of my belief, because of my Judaism, it's just a no. Like it's like I don't need to work with people. There's so much there's unfortunately so much hate against the Jewish people, against Jews, globally. But there are plenty of people that would be happy to work with the Jew or just don't care. Right? They're just trying to get a job done, whatever it is. Say maybe when I was younger, working in New York, it was something that was more on my mind, something I would be a little bit more aware of and concerned about. I feel like as I grow older, it's like I'm more proud of my faith. I'm more proud of who I am as a Jew, and nothing could stop that.
So let's get into your story a little bit. Not maybe not your life story, more career focused. How did you get to where you are now?
So should I take you through the full journey, my LinkedIn, or
Let's do it. Let's do it.
yeah? I guess I've
Yeah, I
said
want
it
to hear the story.
Yeah, I know it by heart. It's something I've repeated many times. I've done Turo alumni Zooms, kind of like this, talking to classes, and I've definitely told it a few, so I can run through it. So born and raised in Elizabeth, New Jersey. I'll just quickly give a little background, very very quickly. I met my wife. We grew
Please.
up together in nursery, and I proposed to her in the nursery classroom. So got married at a very young age, started working at a very young age, and by 19, 20 years old, I think I got married, finished college, and was expecting my first kid all within like a year or two. And yeah, it was pretty wild. So had to pay the bills, had to get a real job. And my brother-in-law, who was in town in New York, said, I'm checking out this cool company called WeWork. Don't really know a lot about it, but my brother-in-law is a big investor. Shout him out now. He's going to come up eventually in this episode anyway. So Michael Eisenberg, he's one of the greatest. Anybody we'll talk about, I'm sure, Aliyah later. If anybody's looking to make Aliyah, he's a person that a lot of people go to. So, and also personally for me, my catalyst and my drive to be in Israel was definitely through him and my sister. So anyways, Michael Eisenberg came to New York, was checking out one of his recent investments or potential investments into WeWork. And he said, come, you're looking for a job. They need interns. They need, maybe there'll be a shidduch here. Maybe you'll find something. And as somebody who went to college for video, by the way, I was just doing graphic design. I was like in and out of college, like meaning in and out quickly, not like in and out. Like I was 1, 2, 3 done with college. I was just looking for something, really anything, but I would love it if it was something in video. I started off as I went to WeWork and took a look around, looked like a really cool place, and I was basically offered a job on the spot by Adam Newman directly, who's the CEO. There's like movies and TV shows. I don't know if you follow the whole WeWork drama, but there's like crazy stories of the whole WeWork the whole story about WeWork and Adam Newman himself. But anyways, he did the quick interview, said, okay, great, we need people. Started as a marketing / video intern, but then the company really needed community managers, which is very well known today. If you say a community manager at WeWork, most people know it's the people who manage those buildings, the people who sell the space, who manage the space. They're like the concierge. They welcome you. They do everything
For
for
sure.
the WeWork spaces, correct? Right. So I was the one who defined that role. It was like maybe 2 or 3 other community managers that were hired at the same time as me, and we helped define what a community manager was. And I was basically selling the office spaces in WeWork in downtown Manhattan and midtown Manhattan. We opened up like the first 3 buildings with them. When I started, they had 1 building. They had just opened their 2nd building actually, and then I opened up their 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And I was a community manager. That's what I felt. That's what I fell into, and it was one of the greatest experiences by far. One of the jobs I really enjoyed most, being a community manager. Kind of like it was like a startup. It was like a startup within a startup. Like I had to figure out what is a community manager and how does it, and what are we responsible for? What are we not responsible for? What
Very
happens?
meta.
Power goes out. It was crazy. So I don't want to spend too much time because it is a long journey. And by the way, Tzvi, tell me if you want me to.
No, I'm listening loud and clear.
Yeah.
This is great.
I don't know if you want me to cut it to shorter because I can ramble for sure. But anyways, WeWork was an amazing experience, and I was there for 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years actually. And it was one of the companies I was really excited about because Adam Newman, being the Israeli founder that he was his plan was to open WeWorks in Israel. He told me like day one, he's like, we're gonna open in Israel, we're gonna have a WeWork Israel, and it was exciting for me because I thought I was gonna make Aliyah with the company. I thought I was gonna have a job in New York, get acclimated, figure out what community management was, and then launch WeWork in Israel. But I was more eager to come sooner than later, and I couldn't really wait for WeWork to get their ducks in a row. And it ended up coming like 2-3 years after I made Aliyah. So it was a good decision, I believe, on my part. But basically made Aliyah in about 2014 maybe. Again, well, I didn't say this yet. Well, the one thing that I was always looking for was video and tech. Those are my passions. Those are the 2 things I was always trying to merge together. Growing up as a kid, I was always obsessed with video. But as I got older, I got really into tech, like apps and startups. I loved the tech scene. I thought it was so cool. So I was always trying to bridge the 2. With WeWork, it was just my first job, so it was just cool. I took anything. But for my next job, coming to Israel, I was looking for something in the video tech space. And again, my brother-in-law, who helped me make Aliyah, introduced me to one of his companies that was doing really one of the first to do live stream video. It was called Yevo, and there's many iterations, as anyone knows in the startup world. It was pivots, as they call it. So it's called Yevo, which then pivoted to Air, which then pivoted to Meerkat, and then eventually House Party. House Party is probably
Okay.
the one you were
Right.
familiar with. It was eventually bought by Epic Games, which is the owner of Fortnite, and it was a really cool ride. But I always tell people that the closest I could tell that story to the closest the similarity that experience working for Yevo Meerkat that I could call it is if you ever saw the show Silicon Valley, that was
Yeah.
exactly our life.
That's what it was in real life.
Dude, that was literally like I was watching that show like in parallel. It actually came out a little later after I was there. But when I was watching that show, I'm like, oh my God, every day was like another thing. And it was like, that's exactly like one day we had Ashton Kutcher accidentally live streaming from his bedroom with Mila Kunis next to him in his bed. Like literally, like that's what happened. And then the day later, Jimmy Fallon and Madonna are going live on Meerkat, like breaking our servers because like millions of people tuned in all at once and it crashed everything. Crazy, crazy wild ride.
That's wild.
Yeah, really wild. And that was really like I lived for that. I was so excited. Again, video was something I loved, but startup world and like tech world, which I didn't really have a lot of experience in. It was WeWork, and that was pretty much it. I was only 20 at this point, 22, 23. And I came to Israel. I wanted to experience the startup world, and that was like the ultimate experience. It was awesome. So long story short, they had a wild roller coaster, literally roller coaster of raising money, not raising money, hiring, firing, and unfortunately, like at the end of my ride, a bunch of people were just laid off. They had to like really cut costs because things were just not panning out so well. Was when Twitter had bought Periscope and they were like shutting down our API, and the whole app basically was being blocked in every which way. But again, also like it's literally in the show, literally in Silicon Valley that happens. That the big guys, Facebook and Twitter, came in and cut the legs out from under us. So a wild ride there, amazing experience, amazing people that I got to work with. And then from there, again, video tech was all I was looking for. So I went over to this company called Nexar, which a lot of people might see in your Uber cabs and your Lyft rides, and here in Israel especially. At the time, it was really just they called it a dumb car into a smart car, turning your dumb car into a smart car, and it was by using your phone. You download the Nexar app, and it could analyze the road. It can read license plates, it could read signs, traffic patterns, and it would communicate with the other cars. Now it's a full blown dash cam, and you have to download it, and it's this whole like thing. But again, video tech. This was something I was always looking to go into, and I went to join them again as community manager over at Nexar. That was a short lived experience because it was something very technical and something I really need to be super savvy with numbers with, like really keeping track of things like that. And for me, it was just not a right fit for them as well. Like it just wasn't the right position. But I had asked the CEO at the time, Ron Shear, I said, I really love video. I love tech. But, like I think maybe it was my first experience at the company between the three experiences, rather, between WeWork, Meerkat, and now Nexar. I discovered product management, and I told him I have this video, graphic art background. How would I get into product management? I asked the CEO, Iran, how would I get into product management? And he said, if you have this graphic art background, which you saw I did, he recommended learning a little bit of code. If you learn a little bit of code, did maybe like a coding, like one of those boot camps, I could be a product manager and work at potentially another company doing product management. So I took his advice seriously. I took it to heart, and I took I believe it was 3 or maybe 6 months. I don't remember anymore. It was a good chunk of time to do the Israel Tech Challenge, which is no longer around, but it was like whatever it was, a few month boot camp to just get familiar with code. I wasn't going to be a developer after this. It was just to be able to communicate with developers was the idea. And that's exactly what I did. I finished the course. It was an amazing experience, really cool people, made some really good friends, and was comfortable enough to communicate, about code and front end, back end, be able to communicate with developers about the code that we'd be working on and be a decent product manager was my goal. And one thing I didn't mention is that Wix was one of like these big companies in Israel that I was always like obsessed with. It was Wix is like, you build your own websites.
Yeah,
It
of
was a
course,
website.
I built my website on Wix.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you build one. Your website is currently on Wix. That's hilarious. So exactly. So when I was a kid, this goes back like early 2000s. It was like just launched, and it was on Flash, like back when there was Flash based websites, which doesn't even exist anymore.
I
And
don't
I
even know
had
what that is, but okay.
it's like exactly it's like websites were very clunky, and it was using Flash technology, which was super outdated. Whatever, you can't like it's with a lot of the games
Is
using
that
like
what Adobe Flash is? So you need
Adobe
like,
Flash. Yeah, it was a
okay,
Flash
fine,
technology that like it was
got it.
basically like I feel like it was like kind of like video in bed. Like it's like the way I looked at it is not at all what it what it was, but I felt like it was like a video version of your website. Like it was like kind of like a multimedia, like kind of
Interesting. Okay,
explain it. Yeah, I really couldn't explain it, but like it was outdated technology and nobody was using it, and that's how far back I went with Wix. So all this time when I was from when I made Aliyah through till I eventually got my job at Wix, which I'll tell you about in a second. I was always looking at Wix as like this amazing company that I would love to work at because I personally use them and I knew everything about them. So I had applied when I made Aliyah. This is like I'm going back in time. I applied when I made Aliyah, didn't get an interview. I applied again later on, got an interview, but couldn't get past the first stage. And then finally, after again, WeWork, Meerkat, whatever, House Party, and then Nexar, after those 3 jobs, I applied. I think it must have been my 4th attempt at Wix, where I now applied as a product manager. Previous to that, I was probably in some marketing position that I was applying for, or an internship. But when I applied as the product manager, because I had my experience with these tech companies, and then I did that ITC, that Israel Tech Bootcamp, that Tech
Mhm.
Challenge Bootcamp, that I think was kind of like the push for them to like give this kid a shot kind of thing. And it's funny, like after all this effort and like this whole dream of working at Wix, I absolutely loved working there. I love Wix. The company itself, I had whatever. It wasn't one of the more fun experiences. I think it was each department has their own quirks and whatnot. So I was very fortunate to have a role there, but I very quickly learned that there are certain things you like and you are passionate about and you enjoy, and there's certain things you're not really into. And I tested it out. This whole product management thing was something I was excited about, but ultimately that was something that I tested. I did that boot camp. I did I put my work into becoming a product manager. I had a great run there. It was really cool, very cool experience. But again, not my passion. And if there's one thing my takeaway from that whole experience is that you have to stick to something that you're passionate and really, really dedicated to. Otherwise, you're not going to have drive in the morning when you wake up to commit and to be there, show up every day and be interested. You need to do something you're passionate about. Otherwise, you're excuse me. Otherwise, you're just not going to last in that role. So yeah, that was basically my full career in real companies as product management, community management, doing all different things, video. And then finally, after which I kind of realized like I really wanted to take that entrepreneurial journey and be my own boss, kind of do my own thing. And I decided to come full circle back to video, doing video again, video and tech. So I went off and decided I was going to do video and tech, merging the two, doing content marketing for tech companies. That's essentially what my goal was. Beggars can't be choosers. When I started my video company, SK Films, relaunched the SK Films from high school that I was so proud of. So when I relaunched my video company, I was taking anything. YU knocked on my door. I did a video for YU. Asia Torah in the Old City did a video for Asia Torah. And then eventually I was very fortunate. I got Google Cloud, Elementor, Our Crowd. I did a lot of really great tech videos until I finally partnered up with where I am now. And I'm sorry for dragging this all out, but
No, this is awesome.
okay, cool. So finally got to where I am today and ultimately partnered with old friend of mine, Zoli Honig, where we do short form media. Prior to that, I was kind of just doing freelance, anything video. My biggest claim to fame was probably Ben Shapiro, who I still manage his productions in Israel anytime he's in Israel. That's my biggest claim to fame, working with Ben and the Daily Wire, handling his production in Israel. But outside of that, that was not mine. That was like a one-off, you know. But my 9 to 5 was just doing any video freelance that came my way. Again, Asia Torah, any yeshivas, schools, universities, tech companies, anything. I would do anything related to that. But with Zoli, it was really more of a structured approach. I really needed that business acumen. I really needed that business structure that I was lacking. You know, as a creative, I have so much fun running around to, you know, create something exciting and a great ad or a great promo or something fun and cool. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a structured business behind you, if you don't have like a funnel of clients constantly coming in and managing those clients and, you know, some type of a system built, it's kind of tricky as a freelancer. You're kind of like really, really busy or really, really slow. And more importantly, short form media was all the rage. This is already like a few years in the making that like I saw that shift. I saw that like regular video, unless you're a YouTuber, most people's eyeballs are on Instagram, TikTok, you know, even LinkedIn created a dedicated video feed and everything was short form media. So it was a no-brainer to shift over and partner up with Zoli. And basically what we do now is executive branding, personal executive branding, where we just sit with people in the studio just like this, but like usually in person, but we do remote
For
shoots as
sure.
well. And we just talk to them. We have podcast setups where we just talk to them. We're not recorded because we don't need to be in the video, but we're having conversations with them and we just let them go. We let the people talk about what they're experts at. We let them talk about what they know best, which is usually their business. And we just create tons and tons, like dozens, sometimes hundreds of clips for our clients. That's my whole story. That's where I am today as a partner
That's the
and
full
creative
circle.
director at Short Form Media.
That's awesome. So a lot to unpack. I have a
Oh,
lot
that
of
was a
questions.
really long-winded answer. I'll have to do that faster next time.
No, you're good. A few questions. What would you say is the difference between working in corporate America versus working in startups in Israel?
It's a really great question. It's a really good question and definitely one I've been asked before. The main difference to me is personally the comfort level. In America, I still feel it. Like when I go into like people's offices and I'm meeting like, you know, potential clients or whatever it is, it's a very buttoned up and like kind of a facade, kind of like a mask. Like you're putting on the show, and it's like it's cool. You fake it till you make it all the way. By the way, like if that's not really what I'm talking about here. If you need to fake it to make it, you need to look like you're running a 30-person company when it's just really you and your laptop. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. It's the kind of like niceties, you know, these pleasantries in person, but kind of like dirty talk behind the door, you know, and kind of like where you meet in person and it's like you feel like you have like you know someone or you get an impression for someone because they put on this whole show, but then the second, you know, you're offline or whatever it is, it's just it's not really, you're not really getting what you think you're getting. It's not really who you see is what you get. Whereas in Israel, for better or for worse, this goes both ways on the spectrum here, you're getting exactly 100%, almost 100% of the time, the person who comes up. You know, if it's a guy who just comes in a t-shirt and sandals, you know, and just doesn't care about his appearance, then that's the guy that you're getting, right? There's no facade. There's no like, you know, if a guy wants to be super rude to you, if your employee or boss, whatever, just wants to say it like it is and you know, and insult you or embarrass you or whatever it is, again, for better or for worse, you're going to get it's that's like for me the ultimate difference. And I feel like I get a lot of flack for that, but that personally for me is what I felt. I felt like in the States when I was, the only experience I really had was WeWork. So it's not a lot of experience, but the time I was there, it was kind of like this. everyone's putting on a smile when really underneath they don't really like you. Whereas in Israel, it's like if they don't like you, they're going to tell you to your face
Right.
they don't like you, and if they love you, you're going to know that too. They're gonna hug you, they're going to kiss you, they'll talk to your mother,
There's
your
no
father.
guessing games. There's no guessing games.
There's no guessing games. That's I think that's again personal answer, personal experience.
What was that like for you adjusting to that?
So again, I didn't have that much to adjust to. I've been to Israel a lot growing up, but more so it was just the 2+ years I was at WeWork was really all I had. So coming to Israel, I was up for anything. I was kind of, you have to be a little bit of a risk taker. You kind of have to like kind of go roll with the punches coming here with everything. Like you order the gas company to connect your gas in your house, they don't come till a week later. You go to the bus stop to take you to work, and it doesn't show up on time like it says it's going to. The train's not working today because they're fixing it for the next 3 years. Like that's life in Israel, right? So I kind of came in knowing that. I kind of knew that like it's not going to be easy. Setting up my bank account's not going to be easy. Setting up my bills in the house is not going to be easy. The whole experience is not going to be easy, right? Getting my kids into Gon here, like I don't speak a word. Like at least then, now I still don't speak a word. But when I'm in Aliyah, I really didn't speak a word. And every which way is an experience. Every which way is a bump in the road or a challenge. But I think that was kind of the mentality I went into going into the workspace, the workforce as well. It was kind of like, I'm gonna roll with it. Whatever it is, it is. I'm embracing it, hugging it. I'm gonna love it to death. Whether it's awful, great, positive, negative, I just embracing it for all it's worth.
Your entire vibe is just so positive, and I love it. I just want to say that out loud really
Thank you.
quick. Like you seem to me as just like you are a roll with the punches kind of guy, and you seem very chill. I don't know if that's like I don't know. You know yourself more than me, but I'm saying like I love that. Another thing I want to address, thing you brought up that made me think about is like this idea of control, and this is I think is an underlying experience that every Jew is hopefully actively working on. Is the sense of relinquishing control, especially as it pertains to parnasa, because it's where like we as Jews we believe that God is the source of our earning of our parnasa. Certainly max amount of money we can make is God given, but you jumped to and from companies at a very young age, like relatively young age. Did you struggle with that sense of control? Of I'm not sure what's going to happen. Like I'm taking this risk and I don't know. Or do you think everything was very strategic? What role did maybe Amuna play in that chapter of those chapters of your life?
Another excellent question. Again, I started talking about the first thing I said when we started the conversation is man plan and God's laughs, right? And that's really I think you have to have some plan in mind, like just a general idea of where you want to be. And then from there on out, it's kind of just all in God's hands. And I think that's the approach that I took, again, going with the whole like rolling with the punches thing. I came to Israel and just went with it. Hold on one second. Repeat. What was the question again? Just repeat the question.
How Amuna played a role in those chapters of your life?
Right, right. So how to Muna, yeah. So I would say this. So rolling with the punches was kind of my motto, and that was kind of like for better or for worse, whether things went well or things went horribly wrong. So anytime I got a new job, anytime I got a new offer, anytime new opportunity rang, Baruch Hashem, thank God, amazing. And did my due diligence and it pulled through. But again, everything's in God's hands. And the same for when things went sour. And not every experience, like I mentioned with certain companies, was a positive one. And it was really, really challenging when a door closed, no matter how much I loved it, or what my experience was like, things happen. And even when things happen, it's Baruch Hashem, thank God. Right. It's like, it's just like, it's very hard in the moment. It's super hard. I want to think like, you say I'm a positive guy. I am a positive guy, but I'm also a human being. I also have emotions. And there were times where it was very, very hard. It was very hard to just say, okay, this Gamzula Tova, it's going to be great. Eventually a few days would pass, time heals and I'd come around and I'd get that motivation to come back at it. The tough thing. It's tough to say Baruch Hashem when things are hard, right? Look at the much bigger picture. The jobs that I may have to navigate is the micro. Look at the macro. Like look at the world that we're in right now, right? Like talk to anyone who served October 7th, right? Like Emuna is a whole different like thing. It's a whole nother beast when you're talking about war. And I'm sorry, I don't need to go so heavy with this question and go into a whole other direction
No,
with
this
it.
is perfect.
But I'm just saying, like there's much bigger things in life. There's much bigger things in life. And I think in those moments, as hard or difficult as it was, again, it's just like zoom out. Zoom out. God has a plan. You don't know what it is, but do your shtadlus, have bitachon, have the amuna, and God willing, you'll find that path.
It's so funny. One of the recurring conversations that keeps coming up since I started talking to people about this and having people on the show is Shabbos and what Shabbos really means for entrepreneurs. And Shabbos, I mean, Shabbos is obviously relatively, you know, for everyone who is working and hardworking, Shabbos is the best, right? Because it's like detach, reconnect, family time, don't have to work,
Totally,
all of that jazz.
totally.
I think it's a definitionally it's different, I think, for entrepreneurs because entrepreneurs have a choice in what they want to pursue. Entrepreneurs make their own path. And usually what that means is that I'm pursuing something that I'm passionate about. Hopefully if you're doing entrepreneurship correctly, you're doing something that you're either highly skilled in or highly passionate in. And I actually think that there are two sides of the same coin. I don't think you can be passionate about something you're not skilled in. But yet we still look forward to Shabbos. And Shabbos plays this role for us of even though I'm pursuing what I'm enjoying and what I find meaningful and passionate, and what I find fulfilling, I'm still in need of something deeper, and I still need to connect to something that is beyond that. And that tells me that you can be as passionate as you want about your work. Your work is not everything in life, and that's a crazy punch in the gut. Because for an entrepreneur, work is everything. Like that, you sacrifice so much of your life, so much of your time, of your money, of your energy, pouring your heart and soul sometimes into a venture, into a startup, into a business idea. And so it's like, play your role, buddy. A Jew sees things differently. Do you? What are your thoughts on that? And do you ever wrestle with that, like the love for your work, while also reminding yourself that there's something deeper?
I mean, just on a fundamental level, if I didn't have Shabbos, I don't know where I'd be. I don't think I'd be alive. Like genuinely mean that. Like I feel like I'd burn out. I'd God forbid have a heart attack, like something serious. Because like it's so hard to disconnect. It's so hard to disconnect. And if you're not born and raised with Shabbos, I don't blame like like people that need to go on a detox and you have these detox camps and separating like they have devices now, right? You could put your phone in like a cookie jar thing that locks. It's like crazy. But I get it. But like I totally get it. It's like I don't think I'd have the self-control like it, but it's amazing. The second kind of reminds actually like my grandfather, Olav Shalom, who was a Holocaust survivor, but was smoke a cigarette. I think he did like must have been like close to a pack a day, like something crazy. I don't know. And my father always like would kibitz with him. He would joke around with him and be like, on Shabbos, like you want a cigarette? You want a cigarette? And it was just like he didn't even have a need for it. He didn't even have
It's
like
wild.
he had no like the nicotine. Like there was no need for it whatsoever on Shabbos. Even Yontif, like it doesn't even make any sense. I understand. Okay, every Friday, like maybe your body got used to it on Friday, Saturday, right? They got used to it. But like my father always joke around with him, but like he really like it wouldn't even like bother him. And I kind of feel like it's one of those things like you're fortunate if you're raised from and you're raised religious and you have Shabbos. It's I think it's for sure the best day part of my week. It's for sure the best day of my week. I get to spend time with my wife, with my kids. Like there's no question. But it's to disconnect, and it's like I really mean it. Like I don't know where I'd be if I didn't have Shabbos. It's like you need. I think you need a break. You need a space from what you're passionate about. Even if you're obsessed with guitar, even if you're obsessed with art, painting, whatever your obsession is. I think everyone, the second you step away from your computer, the second you're right, how many times you're in the shower and it hits you? Oh my God, that's the idea for the video, right? That's the angle I got to do, or that's how I hack this, right? Like it's because you took that break. It's because you took that step away. So Shabbos is that ultimate. If anything, it elevates your job, and I don't think that's the way you should look at it. I don't think you should go into Shabbos like I'm going to do this so that it makes you even better. It will, but I don't. That's not right. The point is you can detach, you can disconnect, you can relax, and you can rest. Right. That's what it's all about. So it's a no brainer. Like it's really one of the greatest gifts and commandments we have.
Yeah, and you hear like all these miracle stories, like these classic stories that you grew up on, like when you were in like third or fifth grade. Like this guy came to the jewelry owner 5 minutes before Shabbos and asked for a
Yeah.
deal, and
Yeah.
he's like, no, 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 I'm a Sabbath observer. And he's like, oh, we're gonna lose the deal. I'll pay you triple the price, or whatever. And then he ends up getting quadruple, 100 times, whatever
Exactly.
it is.
Exactly.
And but it's like,
I could tell you the modern day story of that. By the way,
yeah, what is it?
the modern really quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but
No, that
I don't want to say I'm not positive who said it, so I'm not gonna quote. I don't want to misname it, but it was basically something along the lines. Maybe when I say you'll remember who the celebrity was, but it was basically I believe like the lawyer or the manager of a celebrity And the story goes like basically that this lawyer was getting a call from his client from this like I don't know, it was probably like the Tom Cruise of the 90s, whatever it was, right? It was like the peak, like the most, the top of the top of a celebrity that was calling him over and over and over on Friday night into the night, right? Like few hours ago, I called, calling and calling and calling, calling, and he was not answering the phone. And after Shabbos, he calls. He was getting nervous. Like on Shabbos, he was actually getting nervous. Like maybe it's an emergency, maybe it's something serious. But it was Shabbos. Like even if it was an emergency, like even if it was something, if it was life or death, he could call 911, right?
Right,
So he didn't
exactly.
answer. He didn't answer the phone. The Jewish guy didn't answer the phone. After Shabbos, he calls his client up and he says, whatever, Tom Cruise or it was, Jimmy Fox, I forget who the guy was. He says, I'm really sorry. I hope you're not upset at me, but it was Shabbos. On Shabbos, I don't answer the phone. And I just want to make sure everything's okay. And this famous Hollywood, sorry, you know this?
I
You know,
don't
you,
know the story, but I'm eager to hear the ending.
you know where it's going to go? The famous Hollywood actor says, Ishi, like Yankee, whatever. Don't apologize. You made me $100,000 because I was with a bunch of friends Friday night, and they said you could call anybody in the world. They're going to answer your call. He said, no, I can't call Moshe. I can't call my lawyer. He's like, why not? He's like, because he keeps the Shabbos, he keeps the Sabbath. He says, I'll put each of them, and then like the story, whatever. It's like all different variations of the story, but each guy on $10,000 and said, okay, if you call him 5 times, he's gonna answer. You call him 6 times, he's gonna answer. And he never answered, and he made his client a ton of money. So whatever. That's
That's
the
a great story.
that's the
That's
modern
an
day.
awesome
I don't know how
story.
true it is. I don't remember the details, but whatever.
They probably won't tell that one in yeshivas, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they will actually. Who knows? But no, I mean, I have so many, not so many. I have a few friends who they sacrifice Shabbos for work, and I think it's part of a deeper place where we're at. Maybe as Jews, I mean, this is how the non-Jewish world I think operates. It's like sacrificing something for your work, and but that thing that you're sacrificing is what your work will ultimately lead you to anyways. Right? So if you're sacrificing family, if you're sacrificing downtime, or you're sacrificing just things that you enjoy outside of work for your work, then what's the point of the work? And yeah, it really pains me to hear from like my there's a couple people in mind who I know who they're no longer religious, but they're basically saying how I need to do this on Shabbos. I need to work on Shabbos because if I'm not working on Shabbos, then I'm not. It's not going to be as good as I want it to be.
It's hard.
So I mean,
It's hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I'll add one
it's hard
last
to
thing.
see it also.
It's very hard to see. I do have a number of friends that are in the same position, and I can't relate because we're just to teach their own. Everyone has their own paths, and I'm sure your friends are also doing. Everyone's got their own things. But one thing while you're saying that, the one thing that comes to mind is like post World War II, how many people came with not a penny in their pocket, literally like nothing, and they like as difficult as it is to say, like when they say they had to work on Shabbos to provide for their family so that they could just eat, right? Just literally so they could survive. Like that is like even that I can somewhat understand. I could somewhat come to terms with. But if you're not in such a dire position, like in today's day and world, like today's day and age, I can't relate to someone I personally I never had anyone tell me that they have to work on Shabbos. It's just people that are not religious, which again, that's to each their own. Like if you're not religious, that's a whole other thing. But I can't. If someone did come to me and say I can't work on, I have to do this gig on Shabbos, I have to work on Shabbos. That I just don't understand because unless you're like a post World War II, like literally like nothing in your refrigerator, I don't see how that excuse stands in today's society. And I hope I don't
I agree.
deflect.
No, I don't think that's overtly controversial. I want to shift focus for a second. Something that I personally have experienced, I know most entrepreneurs experience, or just solo business owners go through, is dealing with the awkward conversation with your friends when you're all going over what you guys are up to in life and what you're doing for work. And I'm an accountant, I'm a lawyer, uh, I'm an actuary. I don't know. Like I'm a manager. I'm a psychologist. I'm a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. I said lawyer already. And then like at least I can speak for myself. And I come and I'm like, I make videos. And like, okay, sure, buddy. Like, good luck with that. I think it's like that. In the non-Jewish world, like that's maybe a separate conversation. I think it's especially difficult in the Jewish community to take a non-traditional career path because like everything in our community is built around uh you know achieve, working hard to earn. We all obviously raise the bar super high, at least here in America, in the tri-state specifically, with high yeshiva tuition prices. People spend thousands of dollars on a Shabbos meal, groceries. I mean, so like, the idea of taking a risk, like Jews don't like to take risks. I don't think. Maybe some. I mean, like some do. I'm saying like in a traditional sense, like your classic Jew.
You
You
got
think,
the
especially,
yeah, like in
yeah,
general, meaning generally speaking.
like you think, especially the way like Jews
Jewish
are portrayed on
mothers, the
TV.
Jewish mothers want to know that you're going to school, you're getting a good job,
Exactly.
you're a doctor, a lawyer, and you're going to
Like,
settle down.
I'd really appreciate it if you went
Yeah,
to college, and like, no, ma, I'm gonna make
I'm going to
videos,
be a
and it's gonna
YouTuber.
be great. I'm gonna be a YouTuber. I'm gonna be a podcaster.
Exactly.
Yeah, but like, so I want to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe like, what do you think about that experience? Have you struggled with that?
It's funny because yeah, in the Jewish world, for sure, I could see how like I think yes and no. I feel like a few years ago, for sure, like when I grow, like if you told someone, oh, you're going to be a YouTuber, like for real, like if you were like anyone who said a YouTuber, like I don't know, 5-10 years ago, you get laughed out the door. But
Hmm.
I mean, again, yeah, in the Jew, I'm trying to think which angle I want to approach first. In the non-Jewish world, it's obvious. I think like people see where eyeballs are, right? Like you have the Gary V's of the world, like you have the Alex Ramones of the world. Like it's very obvious. If you say you're taking YouTube seriously or videos seriously, like I think that was just a study done that like the percentage of kids who want to be YouTubers, who want to be creators, as they call it, right, video creators, has skyrocketed. That's a prestigious thing nowadays. So in the
Right.
non-Jewish world, it's like it's not laughed at. I think a bunch of years ago it was, but people like it's for sure. Like how many jobs how many podcasting jobs are there? The companies that are dedicated to just creating podcasting, right? But companies like SFM were just created to just the short form clips, right? Companies that are there's a dime a dozen of all of these, right? So for the non-Jewish world, there's what to be said. There's plenty of opportunity and there's plenty I think of respect there. In
And
the
there's
Jew
also more of a like an acceptance to do your own thing. Like I don't think it's like that in the Jewish world necessarily. But yeah, I cut you off. I don't know what you mean.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess because I'm in Israel, it's a little different. But yeah, dude, times are changing. The bottom line is times are changing. Every generation, you have parents that don't understand their children, right, or grandparents don't
Hmm.
understand their like it's things jump by leaps and bounds. Look how much technology. Look at AI in the last just 3-4 years. Like where we are, right? Things are flying. Things are moving so fast. So of course, if you would have said 10 years ago, I'm going to be a YouTuber, I'm going to make videos on YouTube, I'm going to make $1 million. What? You're going to review toys and make millions of dollars reviewing toys? And one of the most successful YouTubers is a kid, right? His parents, right? Obviously his parents that are behind it, but it's a kid who's just opening toys all day and talking about it on camera, right? Or it's Mr. Beast who started by cutting a plastic table in half with a plastic knife, and we're counting to 1 billion or whatever the heck else he did. Yeah, a bunch of years ago, the proof was not in the pudding, and you had no idea what these guys were doing, and they were the outliers, they were the crazy ones. But nowadays, even in the Jewish world, I feel like people are starting to come around and to see the value, right? Like people like how many meaningful minutes and living l'chaim's, like, right? Like all of even rabbis in yeshivas, like they're saying about something that they heard on a podcast of this rabbi on a living l'chaim episode or on that podcast. It's like they're all tuned in. So even in the Jewish world, I feel like they're starting to realize, okay, there's a lot of money to be made. There's a huge industry in this space. But more importantly, but just to go back to your question about like your confidence, or where you feel like in the what's the word the race, not the global race, what's it called?
The rat race?
Yeah, the rat race. I guess the rat race of work, right? In that world, it's not a rat race, so it's not the right term, but whatever it is. In your own vision of where you stand compared to your doctor friends and your lawyer friends, and in those traditional accountant positions, whatever it is, there are literally people making money from the stupidest things these days. The stupidest things. You could be a millionaire. You could be a billionaire. I would venture to say from narishkeit, from complete nonsense. You can. Maybe not a billionaire, but whatever. A millionaire for sure.
For sure.
So millionaire, you could be so successful. And by the way, how many lawyers and doctors do you know that aren't so successful? I can name you a ton of lawyers and doctors. I could tell you about a family that I know that there are 4 or 5 boys. One's a doctor, one's a lawyer, one's some fancy professor, whatever, and one's a plumber. Which one do you think is making the most money?
I happen to know that plumbers make a lot of money, so I'm gonna go with plumber, but it's not
Plumber.
the obvious choice.
The plumber, right? And you would
Right.
say, oh, this is my son. He's a plumber. Like you think a Jewish mother's going to be so proud. He's a plumber. This plumber is making more than maybe all of them combined. I don't know if that's true, but like, you understand, like the fact that he
Plumbers make a
makes
lot.
more of all of them individually is for sure. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. So you know, there's a whole self-confidence thing that like that I would also get into, where it's just like never compare yourself to others. Like everyone's running their own race. Everyone's in their own. It's not a race, right? Everyone's in their own derech. Everyone's in their own paths in life, doing totally different things. What does it matter if someone is a millionaire by 21 or 22, or has 5 or 6 children by 23, 24? What does that have to do with you? Right. And what does it matter if he's a successful lawyer, or he's a successful doctor or a dentist or whatever the heck, and you're a video? I know video guys who are doing much better than a lot of you, and I both know video guys who are doing better than any doctor or lawyer than you
For
can think.
sure. For sure.
So
Yeah.
that's,
It's true. That definitely communal perception is also a big deal.
yeah.
And it's because we're in we are a community. It's not like perception doesn't matter as much when you're not like and not to, obviously say anything negatively about, the non-Jewish world, but it's more of a positive for us. Like we happen to have this built-in kind of, little bubble, but people are like looking at you more, or at least you think people are looking at you more.
You think that's really what it is? I think that's really what it is. I mean, it could be in the Jewish world people are looking more, because we are a very we have this insular community. Like everyone knows everyone, right? Everyone knows
Right.
everyone. The second you put something on social media, did you see he posted this? He posted that, and word does get around. But at the same time, for sure, I mean, in the general world and even in the Jewish world, everybody feels that that everyone else is looking at them, when the reality is nobody cares. And we tell this to our clients all the time. This is like, I don't even know how many videos Zoli's done about this. Nobody cares, right? Post the video, say the thing, do your, if you're passionate about something, would you rather live a life when you get to 80, 90 years old, and you have no energy left and you're going to die soon? Would you rather say, oh, I played it safe and I didn't embarrass myself in front of, God forbid, embarrass myself in front of my friends? Or would you say, I gave it my all. I tried painting. I tried pickleball. I don't know what the heck. I tried becoming a YouTuber. I tried everything. And you know what? It was a great life, right? It was a great experience. Would you rather that, or just say, what could have been? What happens if I would have, became that chef or did that thing, right? You
For
never know.
sure. I want to shift gears a little bit. How has being an entrepreneur, a Jewish entrepreneur, as we opened up the episode with, shaped your family life?
In what regard? In what specifically?
Meaning, if you were to think about if you were not an entrepreneur and you pursued a traditional career path, do you think, I assume it's been positive, I hope it's been positive, but what difference or impact has it had on your family life, maybe on your ability, not to get too like, you don't have to share anything you don't want to share about.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. There
So
might be nothing there, but
but you're saying specifically as like a business owner, like kind of like that I'm doing my
yeah,
own thing. Is that what you mean? Like as
yeah,
a okay.
correct. Yeah,
I guess, I mean, if I'm really being honest here, well, I can't apply it to all. What I was gonna say is that my 9 to 5 jobs, all those startups that I worked at, some of them were more structured. So I was like, okay, I was out at 8 a.m. and I was back at 6 or 7 p.m. Some nights were later, but for the most part, like those were my working hours. I was a regular guy, going to my job and coming back home. So it's somewhat more structured and chill. But like even within that, when I was at Yevo America, there was nights I took a bus at like 12 o'clock at night to go back to the office. I'd come home for dinner, eat, get the kids to bed, and then I went back to the office. It wasn't a lot, but like there was a few times where I had to go back and pull an all nighter in the office in Tel Aviv. While I would say in general, again, bigadol, like in general, that work, the traditional work life, the startups, that experience that I had was more structured, so that gave me more structured time with my family. Yeah, the flip side of that is obviously that now that I'm on my own, I'm just 24/7 on. I'm 24/7. I have to be accessible. I feel like I have to be accessible. I have to be online. I have to be available to my clients. I have to be ready for whatever comes. Right? It's the buck stops with you when you're running your own business. The buck stops with you, right? So you do have consequences. You do have something to sacrifice and a cost to pay there. At the same time, you make your own hours, right? I couldn't just take off. I can't just fly to America. When I was working at those companies, I couldn't go to America for July and August and just be with my family in the States for the 2 months. But as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I can do whatever the heck I want. If I want to work from Thailand for 6 months, I could do that, right? So there is some flexibility there. There are pluses and minuses to everything in life, and those are the pluses and minuses there. I think there's definitely some sacrifice if you want me to go into more detail, I can, but there's
no, that was
definitely,
perfect. Was
yeah,
there ever a time in your journey, either working in America or Israel, or working for a company or working for yourself, that you feel like the work demand was directly conflicting with religious observance, or not observance, but like your ability to pray as best as you can, or if you set time for learning, if that's something that you want to do, and how did you handle that?
No, I think, honestly, between you and me, I don't think it's a question for me just because I'm not the type that I make time for davening. I make time for serious things, but I don't have that kind of schedule where I'm like, I have to do the daf every day and I have to get to this year and this and that. If I can, if it works with my schedule that I catch a minion, great. But I'm not, unfortunately, I feel like this question just is not a one that I feel strongly about. It's not, again, this is just between you and me. I daven every day, and I have time. I do Smichas Chaver, which is, I don't know if you know, if you're familiar, SCP, Smichas Chaver
Yeah,
program.
yeah.
It's like that, yeah, it's like literally, yeah, but it's like the daf a day, but that's weekly. So I don't have, because my day is not structured around my tefillah or my shirim, or like that's not something that's structured so significantly in my week or in my day. It's not something I feel like I have such a great answer for.
No, it's totally
Yeah.
valid, actually. I think it's just as valuable as answer. I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you just to give you an answer if you want. I can expand on the fact that, like, it's very much a priority for me. It's very much a priority for my children that I don't let them, I don't let them slip up. But for me personally, like, I feel like I daven differently than others. Like, I feel like my davening is more like, I don't want to call it meditation, but like, when I go to shul, it's just like I'm connecting in a different way. And to be a part of a minyan for me is not the ikr. Like, for me to make sure I'm 3 times a day, every single day with a minyan, it's not it. If I have 5 minutes where I just breathe and I think about, and I have a curse for everything I have in my life, that to me is a little bit more than daven with a minyan. Again, I daven with a minyan, but it's not. It's just to answer, to give for your audience. I don't know if it's really what you're looking for. Like, I don't think it's necessarily going to speak to
No, it's great. I think it's awesome, and I think it's like I appreciate the honesty also. I think that's important to say. But okay, that's fine. 1 second.
I'll say one other thing really quickly off the cuff. The best thing you can do for yourself is set those routines and set those habits early. I remember I was at a wedding, a cousin's wedding, and my brother-in-law said to me, I had just gotten married myself, and my brother-in-law said to me, he says, "Are you learning every day?" And I'm like, "Yeah, here and there." He's like, "You have a chavrusa?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Get that into your schedule now because life will only get more hectic and more crazy as time goes
Right.
on. And if you don't have that in your schedule now, you'll never have it." And he was right. I do, thank God, I have that smichas chaver, like I mentioned, I have weekly shir, and I have the Shabbos is, like, again, the best day of the week, and I have my chevra and my kehila, my shul I go to here, and like my whole crew. But if you're if it's important to you, if it's a priority to you for either davening or, to daven with the minyan or to be learning every single day, do it young, get it into your schedule and make it a priority and make it a habit every single day. I'm sorry, make it a habit when you're young, because as time goes on, it's just going to get harder. It's just going to be, it's going to slip away. It's going to be more and more difficult to find the time and to squeeze it in.
Got it. Why did you make Aliyah, and what effect would you say it's had on your work-life balance?
Um, I was waiting for the work-life balance question just because I immediately jumped to my brother Michael, but I guess I'll say it now already. I knew I was going to mention my brother Michael because he is a role model for me. And he's something very special. So he has a whole sheet on work life balance, which is that there is none. Like, people think, oh, I have work life balance. He's like, there is none. There's not, like, either you're working or you're with your family. Like, you can't do both at the same time, right? So there is no balance. I very much agree with him. It's like, it's more like a juggling act for me. It's just kind of like, okay, work, family is for sure a priority, and work is also a priority, and it's prioritizing them simultaneously, not in the same time. It's more like a juggling act, right? Or it's where it's like, one is something you're focusing on right now, and the other is like getting ready to launch because you got to focus on that next, right? So you're constantly juggling the two worlds. So not simultaneously at the same time, but like in that juggling analogy. But to answer your question about Aliyah, because that's a whole different. Those are two very different questions, but I like how you tied it in. Why I made Aliyah is, and I've answered this before on, shout out Zach Lennox. I think he asked this on his little podcast that we had fun with in a park nearby. I'm the youngest of 7 children, and I know from my siblings that if you don't try things, specifically Aliyah, when you're young, it will always be harder. Just like I said with the learning, just like I said, with the routines, getting it done early in life. If you push things off to when you're older, or when you're more established, when you have the mortgage, right, and you have the rent you got to pay or whatever it is, your kids are in school in America, and you don't try it when you're young, when you have either no kids or just a baby, or maybe two little ones, it's just going to get harder and harder as time goes along. And so I know for my 6 siblings rather, I'm the youngest of 7. What I know for my 6 siblings is that if I was going to try Aliyah, if I was ever going to try it, I had to try it when I was young, and that would be the best opportunity to give it a shot. And that's what we did. My wife and I, my wife, to be totally honest, was not super excited, like, to come, but she was very much in agreement to give it a shot. And now, thank God, like, all these years later, was not a question, one of the best decisions we ever made. But it took time. It took a lot of time. But we both made that decision together that if we were going to try it, we had to try it when we were young, and that's exactly what we did. We came with I had a 2-year-old at the time, and that was my son Elazar, and our daughter Nomi was born just a few months before we moved. And even when we came, by the way, we didn't come on Nefesh B'Nefesh. We didn't come like we're going no matter what and we're making it work. I know people that do that, and that's a commitment. I give them a lot of credit. We didn't do that. We came, we found an apartment, a job, and settled in. But I didn't make Aliyah until at least a year, maybe a year and a half, or even close to 2 years later, when it was becoming difficult with work, just technically, like taxes and things like that. That became more complicated. That I made Aliyah within Israel, and then I went to Nefesh B'Nefesh, and I made Aliyah from within Israel. So yeah, to answer your question, it was something I knew I had to try when I was young, and I'm really happy I did.
I'm kind of cringing by asking this question, but I do feel the need of bringing it up. I'll leave it open ended. It's a large question. Do you believe that it's harder to make money in Israel?
Another great question, and another one that I hear all the time. Statistically, I think yes. Statistically, you will make less. I know so many people who had the same exact job. Some of them came with almost even the same companies to their same role in Israel, and they were paid $10, $20, $30,000 less, like crazy numbers. So statistically, I think that's 100% true. As an entrepreneur, as someone running your own business, in this day and age, you can live wherever you want and make a ton of money, right? We already discussed how you can do the most ridiculous things and make a lot of money. Now, because of I think COVID just expedited it. I think now that we're remote, right? We're doing this over Zoom, like we're doing a whole podcast, a whole episode, and we're in two different parts of the world, right? So much has evolved, so much has changed. And again, as an entrepreneur, as someone as a business owner and operator, I feel like a large percentage of your work can be done remotely, and you could really make a great living wherever you are. But I know what you're really asking. You're asking about the salaries in Israel. And again, statistically, yes, it's true. I think the numbers, if you're going to go more traditional and you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant, you will make less. But I know plenty of dentists and plenty of doctors who went private and are making a very, very, very handsome salary, a very successful careers. Would they have made more if they were in America? Maybe. But I know a lot of people that made a ton of money doing their niche and their expertise right here in Israel.
What's some maybe practical advice that you can give for someone who is very much considering Israel, but is very much on the fence? You don't need to convince them about why they should make Aliyah. Like they're passionate about making Aliyah and living in the Jewish homeland, but they're scared about that cost. Sorry, that pay decrease. Is it a mindset? Is it a mindset shift, or the things that you can do? What advice would you give?
I said this also on the with Zach and that podcast that I had done. There's reality at the end of the day, right? If you don't come from a family that can help and support you to do that, right? If you're going to spend every last dime and dollar or whatever, on Aliyah and getting settled, and you don't really have a job or anything in place, it could be really, really scary, and it could be really, you're taking a tremendous risk. But if you are in the fortunate position, that parents can just help you out. I don't mean support you, right? You're not going to kollel here, right? You're going to come here and you're going to get a job. But if there's someone that can just help you just till you're on your feet, I truly believe that you can make it work here. I don't think you might need that support just to get you off the ground in those training wheels for the first few months, just so that you can settle in here comfortably. You don't have to worry about immediately getting a job, learning the language, getting the gun set up for the kids, all these things that really take time. So if you can get all of these, if you get just even a little bit of help to just get you acclimated, then I really feel that there is a second part of that. I'll just go right into it. The other part of that is that you have to have bitachon, and you have to do the hard work, right? It's not going to be, you might have a pay decrease, right? Or you will have a pay decrease. And that's something you have to plan for, right? You can't just come and say, it's in God's hands. You could do that. You could move to Tzvat and just say it's in God's hands.
Spotty.
If that's what works for you. But the reality is that you might come with a pay decrease and figure out, later on how to make more money, right? Or get that promotion in the job and make more money. But you have to come with expectation. You have to come with reality, with real world expectations, which is, yes, you might be making less, and yes, you might, which also means spending less. By the way, right? There are certain things here that are more affordable. You do not have the tuition costs like you have in America. That is a huge savings, right? And if you're living in one of the major cities, you don't need a car. I didn't get a car here until 7 or 8 years into living here. Okay. And I am a spoiled American. I am as spoiled as it gets. And I was taking buses and taxis and trains and light rails and everything, and scooters. I bought a scooter. That was my investment. An electric scooter, which was great. And I got around.
I love Shai Knecht on a scooter. I love that. It's a
It
great
was a
look.
great ride. It was a great ride. I kind of upset that I got a car in the end because I now don't ride my scooter anywhere. but there is a reality you have to prepare for, and being prepared for that reality, knowing that you're going to have to make certain cuts, or you're going to have to live a different a different lifestyle here, is something you should be real with yourself, and then make that step, make that jump, and then the rest is in God's hands.
This is something I think is going to be a recurring theme in the show is the concept of hustle culture. What is your take on hustle culture? Do you know what hustle culture is?
I think generally, what I just
Yeah,
like,
like a general like
work,
do
your
work
butt off and get
hard.
it done. Yeah, Alex Ramosi,
Yeah,
Gary V, right? Like, just like
yeah,
hustle.
exactly. I find myself struggling to see how I don't think it fully fits in into like in a Jewish sense, like a Jew, how it would fit into a Jewish lifestyle, because hustle culture requires you to sacrifice everything for work, for business success. But Judaism doesn't believe in that kind of sacrifice. But at the same time, living a Jewish lifestyle requires you to earn X amount, which requires a lot of hard work. So it's what is so I'm in that little gray area between the two. And what is your take on hustle culture?
So clarify, what is my take on hustle culture in as a Jew,
Yeah,
or general?
yeah, I should have clarified that.
I mean, I do, again, like, I hate to sound like a broken record, but like, there's reality at the end of the day, right? And you have to know yourself. If you're going to have burnout, and you're going to hustle, 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 because everyone says the hustle, 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 and you got to be up at 5 a.m. and on email, and that, I don't do that. I personally just don't do that. I got to sleep in. I work very late. Maybe that's not good either. I work through the night a lot, till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. But I'm not of the mentality that, like, you just got to work until you collapse. Like, it's just, I don't know who can sustain that, right? That might work for a few days, a few weeks, maybe even a month, but eventually you're just going to kill yourself, right? You're just going to burn out. I think be real with yourself again. I hate the broken record stuff, but like, be real with yourself, know yourself. And if you know that you can sustain and handle a certain amount, don't push your limits, right? Again, go back to Shabbos. You have that break. Lean into that. Lean into your break. Lean into where you can be a human being. Like, I don't think you have to be constantly on and constantly working to succeed. There is so much space and time in life. And by the way, what kind of life is that? What kind of life is that you're working, 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 working? You never see your kids. You never spend time with your wife. You're always, always on and being with clients or whatever it is. Is that you said it yourself, right? Is that what you're working for? Is that to just be working? That's no fun, right? So I guess, so if I had to sum it up, I don't believe in hustle culture. I believe in hustling to make so that your work feeds someone else said it much more elegantly, but I think, like, work should feed your life. Life shouldn't feed your work, right? Like, some type of saying like that, right? You should be doing the benachas, and you should be enjoying what you're doing so that you can live a life and not be a slave to your work.
Last question I have for you, Shai, is as a Jewish entrepreneur, what is your vision for success? What does success mean to you?
Again, to go back to what I just said, your passion, your work should feed to your life. If my legacy is that I raised amazing kids, I have first and foremost a happy wife, happy life. So my
Yeah.
wife is happy, and I raised successful, happy children. I think that's number one for me. If I was able to do enough work, just enough work, that I was able to make enough money and be content, right? Be happy with what I'm doing. I'm not just getting a paycheck and I'm out. I'm enjoying my work. But if I'm doing all that, and that's feeding not literally but figuratively my family, right? That's giving my wife security. That's giving my children security, comfort, love, happiness, time off to be with them, vacations, right? If I'm able to do all that to live that life, to me, that's success. That's the first level of success. I'm going to go a little deeper with it and say that that's number one in the, I guess, in the pyramid, of what is it, like the food pyramid, I guess, like, in the pyramid of, if I'm looking at it like that, that's the top of the pyramid is my wife, my kids, and their success. I think that's number one. Below that is being a successful entrepreneur, running a successful business, and doing something that, A, makes money, right? I have to have a business. I have to make money at the end of the day. But B, is fulfills me, right? It's something that I am passionate about, that I enjoy. I love it when I do TikTok. My daughter just asked me before. He's like, "We haven't done a TikTok in a while, right?" And this is a whole other thing that I could get a lot of flack for, putting my kids on camera and on social media, whatever. And I'm not that guy. I don't stick a camera in their face. I'm not that guy. But once in a while, I have an idea, or they have an idea that they wanted to work with me. And my daughter literally just said to me right before I got on the call with you, Tzvi, she said, like, "We haven't done a TikTok in a while. I want to make a TikTok with you." And by the way, she doesn't have her own TikTok. It's my TikTok. I did the video, whatever, for all the haters out there. Uh, but that's awesome, right? Like that is awesome. That's where I get to merge my two biggest priorities in life. That's where I get to have a passion for my work, a passion with my wife and kids, and together I get to do something fun with them. I'm spending quality time with them. I'm making an awesome video, and I'm putting it out to potentially bring me more business. Right? I can't even tell you how many videos I've gotten tens of thousands, hundreds of. I gotten millions of views, but not with my kids. But I've gotten videos with my wife and kids that have gotten thousands and tens of thousands of views that wind up in the craziest places that lead ultimately to the craziest jobs that I would have never had I not posted those videos. I want to wrap this thought up because it's a good thought. But basically, I'm extremely blessed that's when my job can do things like that it can feed into that. I think I'm in a very very lucky position. And I think that's the ultimate success that I can do those two things hand in hand like that.
Awesome. Shai, this was an action-packed episode. Really enjoyed having, like, honestly, just like having the opportunity to sitting down and like, like talking about this stuff with you, someone who's experienced as you are, and hearing your thoughts on this, I think is a real gift, and your time is a gift, and I really appreciate it. Where should someone go if they want to find out more about you, or if they want to, have some awesome social media content?
It's at Shai Knecht everywhere, ShaikNecht on Instagram. I believe LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. It's that's where I'm at, and follow short form media as well. We're doing some really cool stuff over there. If you're anyone that's looking for short form content, if you're someone running your own business that needs content to talk about your space and what you do, we do personal branding, short form video. So I'd like to just give a little shout out to short form media
Little
as well.
plug.
Little
Little
plug.
plug. Awesome. Shai, thank you so much for your time, and thank you
Thank you.
everyone for listening.
I appreciate it.